What is going on, Crisis Actors? It is episode 1060 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I hope you guys all had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I hope you took the time on Monday to pay respect to the veterans and all who have given their lives for this country. I think that was an important thing. I was thinking about coming in and doing a show yesterday, or at least doing something yesterday, and I really did feel that I saw some posts from somebody like Dan Holloway saying that the whole point of Memorial Day is to spend time with your loved ones and your families so that you can appreciate the things that you have been granted, you know, with the freedoms that you have in this country. And I think that's an important thing. And anyways, I hope you guys are doing well and you are back to work today and all are having a good one. I am here with my guest co-host for the day. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Olivia. I am very tired today. I had a long night with the cat. She was meowing constantly, and so I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit out of it today.
Well, this is why the problem with like our type of operational security here, which is like since we both have to be annoyed by the cat, we're both tired now.
Yeah, especially on a day that I'm here, but I'm happy to be back. A great long weekend. Got to meet up with some friends yesterday for dinner. And yeah, I mean, I'm tired, but we're gonna get through it.
I thought maybe it's maybe we try to talk to the cat and we say, look, you can bother us, but you have to do it on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday.
She cannot hear.
We'll have to learn cat sign language.
Yeah, we'll have to learn kitty sign language and tell Mocha to please respectfully shut it, because
I'll just on days when we're not doing the show together.
Well, not even then. I would like to be well rested for my job anyways. When I'm not here, I'm still working.
She also doesn't have my life hack where I just turn on I'm deaf in one ear, so I just turn on the good ear, suddenly bam, plow, no cat to be heard.
No, and I wish that was the case for me, but that's okay. We still love her, so it is what it is. I think the day off also threw off our schedule a little bit, so it's always one of those things trying to get back into the work week where you feel a little bit out of it, a little bit spaced out, and so we got a lot of stuff today to talk about, and I'm ready to get into it. I'm going to lock in for the next 2 hours. I am ready to go.
All right. We got a bunch of stuff to get into. Indeed. We are going to talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu. It did about $163 million at the box office. We will talk about what that means for Star Wars, what it means for the box office, and we'll look a little bit at what's coming up in the future. I don't think, in my personal opinion, that for something on the level of Star Wars, even if it isn't a main trilogy film, a main original trilogy adjacent film, that it's good in terms of what it means for Star Wars. I do think that they have something to look forward to on the horizon with Starfighter starring Ryan Gosling coming out next year. So we'll look at some of the numbers there. We'll look at some of the numbers and the other things going on with the box office since it was a long Memorial Day weekend box office. So we'll talk about it. We're also going to talk about ageism in Hollywood. Did you know that science has finally proven without a shadow of a doubt that Hollywood hates old women? It's true. We're going to talk about it. Also, the Odyssey. There's more stuff coming out in the news about the Odyssey. It looks like all of the hullabaloo, all of the mishgas that's been going on surrounding the Odyssey is hurting the public's interest in going to see the movie. There's a report here from Cosmic Book News that talks about it. Also, though, I found an open letter from the Greeks. All of them.
Every one of them?
Apparently. Not all of them, but they wrote Nolan a letter about the Odyssey, and I thought at the very least we could go through it. Now, I'm not the best public speaker, nor am I a good reader, but we are going to read through it together and see how they feel. It's funny because I sent you the article. It's basically like one long, like, we're upset, but they have to make sure that you understand that they're not bigots, but they're not happy about this either, which is very reminiscent of just the way things are in Hollywood these days. So if you are ready to go, Olivia, we can go. Are you ready?
Born ready.
You're born ready.
I'm going to say that every day. Born ready.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about The Mandalorian and Grogu. It premiered over the long Memorial Day weekend at the box office. We'll talk about all of this news a little bit here. First and foremost, total score all in for the box office this weekend, $221 million, which is a decent run. It's the third best Memorial Day weekend box office in the COVID era, as they call it, which now just feels like BC and AD. We're going to have to hear about all numbers as if Hollywood just started after COVID. But it's a 33% drop from the year they had last year, which of course had Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which bolstered a huge Memorial Day weekend box office, which did very, very well for them. But other movies, and we'll get into all things related to The Mandalorian and Grogu, but if you want to look away from that, just to start, Obsession did unbelievably well. Michael is definitely going to make $1 billion at the box office. Devil Wears Prada 2 is proving that apparently Hollywood does love old women, despite the fact that apparently science has proven that that is not the case. And those movies all did very, very well at the box office, all things considering they weren't their first weekends. In fact, if you look at it, Obsession did something that rarely gets done at the box office, in which its week 2 box office was actually more than its week 1. It didn't have a drop. It actually made more money. In week 1, Obsession made about $17 million. In week 2, it made $23 million for the short weekend, $30 million total all in for the 4-day weekend on like $1 million budget, which just puts everything to shame. It's no wonder everybody wants to reinvest in the horror genre, because that's apparently how you make your money now. You spend a little bit and you make a lot. But let's talk about The Mandalorian. So what were the numbers? It made $81 million in the 3-day frame. It made $100 million if you count Memorial Day, $163 million if you count its international numbers. Here's the problem with that. That means that it did about $100 million over 4 days, whereas Solo, which came out in 2018, did about $100 million over the 4-day weekend. Now, the one thing that Mandalorian and Grogu has going for it is it does have a demonstrably short, like smaller budget than what they spent to make Solo a Star Wars story. But the thing is, Solo finished with about $393 million at the box office. With those numbers tracking so evenly around there, you can look at the possibility that Mandalorian and Grogu could finish somewhere in the $400 million range. Now, that Hollywood Reporter article that came out like a week or two ago said that this movie needs to make like $600 million to break even. Even if you throw that number out and you just go with the reported budget, you don't include marketing, and you take the 2.5 times its budget number, that comes out to like, because its budget was like $165 million. Remember, you split half of that with the theaters. If you just take that number, we're not even going to take the realistic number that Disney gave you, but if you go with the $415 million, $412 million number you get from that, formula, it's still looking to end up just along those lines, maybe breaking even. But if you take the realistic number that Disney's giving you, way underperforming when it comes to actually making its budget back. And the problem with that is this has to be indicative of what people are going to think about Star Wars projects going forward. Sorry about that. The Darth Maul thing that came out recently had some really, really good reviews. Obviously, Andor had very, very good reviews, but cost a fortune to make. It's probably the one thing that Star Wars fans seem to really, really like, despite the fact that it was that expensive to make 2 seasons of it. So what do you do going forward? Now, I do think that there is a little bit of a bright spot on the horizon that I have not seen a lot of people talking about, which is that I do think that the combination of Sean Levy, is it Levy or Levi? Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Levy, okay? Sean Levy, who is a fantastic director, has made plenty of stuff that I really, really enjoy. I did like Deadpool and Wolverine. If I remember correctly, he made The Adam Project, which is the rare example of a Netflix movie that I actually enjoyed. The Sean Levy and Ryan Gosling movie Starfighter, which comes out almost a year from today, I think, given that it's got the star power of a Ryan Gosling, and Ryan Gosling coming off of Project Hail Mary, which has earned him even more goodwill going forward, could symbolize a better start to a new era for Star Wars if they're looking to do that than anything going on with The Mandalorian and Grogu, given the fact that season 3 didn't do the numbers that they wanted as far as audience interest or viewership, and the fact that season 3 is just not as well regarded as season 1 and 2. It feels like part of an old era, whereas Starfighter, if it has good trailers, if the crew involved in it does a really, really good job with promotion, could push it forward into the possibility of what might look like a new era for Star Wars. But in general, I just don't think that it's all that good for it, given the fact that there's still people arguing about all of this stuff. I saw this tweet that WDW Pro made from somebody who said, The Mandalorian and Grogu is the #1 movie in the world right now, but I was told it was a total disaster flop by a guy whose paycheck depends on it failing. Well, no. I get to do this either way. If Disney makes a ton of money, I get to report on that. He's obviously not talking to me, guys. But the point is, doesn't matter either way. It doesn't affect my paycheck. But when it comes down to it, if you're looking at a movie like a Star Wars, it's not even an anthology film, right? It's Star Wars anthology adjacent because it's based on a television property, and it's doing the same numbers as Solo did in 2018. That doesn't bode well, because in 2018, $393 million went a hell of a lot further than $393 million goes in the year 2026. WDW Pro responded and said, heading for a $400 million box office, Disney says it needs $600 million to break even in a Hollywood Reporter article. It's the worst performing Star Wars film ever, but enjoy your talking point. And that does seem to be what it feels like for the most part now. And it just feels like when you look at these other movies that are in here, and maybe Olivia, you can give an opinion on this. I know that I'm monologuing a bit here, but it is what it is. When it comes down to the other movies, which is Obsession, which me and you would never, we're not horror people. It's just not for us. Michael, people asking if we're going to do a Michael review. Devil Wears Prada 2. Devil Wears Prada 2 is based on IP, but Michael is just going to further make it for them to make more biopics, though I wonder if Michael Part 2, if Michael 2 Electric Boogaloo is going to do the same, because it's going to have to get into the allegations and stuff that happened in the latter half of his career. It just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of interest for Star Wars. I saw a great meme earlier, but a post, and this might actually speak to you a little bit, where somebody said, remember those Westerns your dad watched on TV as a kid? They were boring, they were repetitive, but he watched them all the time, but it felt like they were part of a bygone era. So basically, that's how the next generation feels about Star Wars. This is your dad's thing now. This is your older brother's thing now. It isn't what it used to be.
I don't know. I think a big part of this is kind of like superhero fatigue. I think a lot of people are seeing more and more projects coming out of Star Wars. And it becomes where you might not know.
But they haven't done a movie in 7 years. That's the problem.
But it's all the
here.
TV shows. Yes. It's all the everything you need to know. That going into that, I have no idea, right? I know Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever.
High barrier to entry.
Right. It's the same thing with superhero movies. So I think that a lot of people don't want to do their homework. They don't want to have to watch however many things, however many shows or movies or whatever. I mean, even Star Wars to begin with.
Technically, even this, you'd have to watch. You theoretically would need to watch 3 seasons of The Mandalorian going.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is you would have to do a ton of work beforehand, and that's just not something people are going to want to do going up. And also, this movie's going to go to streaming. They've already basically said, it'll be on Disney Plus. Why would I pay to go to the movies if I'm already paying for Disney Plus? I can just wait for it to come out if I'm not a huge fan of going right away. If I'm I can wait, I don't care about spoilers, then you just watch it on streaming later. There's no reason to pay the money when you're already paying Disney to go and see it.
I think for a lot of people, and speaking specifically of diehard Star Wars fans, and there are people in the chat I saw at least earlier that do love Star Wars and do still want to go see the movies and did go see The Mandalorian and Grogu, is that Star Wars as a franchise is something that is meant to be seen on the big screen. The vast landscapes, the special effects, it's kind of made to be seen on the big screen. And if you can't entice people to do that and they're willing to wait to streaming, that is an indictment on the quality of the product as it sits right now.
But so many people already have a big screen at home.
I mean,
not a theater screen, but they have a big enough screen where maybe they're not enticed to go. The prices of the movies are insane. To even get snacks at a movie is insane.
Well,
then the homework you have to do before that, 3 seasons of a show plus all the Star Wars movies, if you really want to know everything, is also insane.
So one of the reasons why that it proves that going to the theaters matters for this is, I have it right here. Highest theater for the weekend was AMC Disney Springs in Orlando with 276,000. IMAX pulled in 15% of the weekend, while IMAX and PLF is premium large format screens, repped 46%. So that like a lot of people aren't just going to see it on a regular screen like you or I would. They're going to see it in the largest screen possible.
And that's more expensive too,
yes,
correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And that adds another layer of... You know, like, and Baby Yoda kind of had its peak during COVID, it feels like.
Yeah.
When they first came out with it and everyone was obsessed with Baby Yoda. I had a roommate who loved Baby Yoda.
How did they feel when they
I have no idea.
revealed that the name was Grogu?
I think I remember her distinctly saying, like, Grogu's fine, but it's still Baby Yoda to me or something like that. So, I mean, yeah, Baby Yoda's cute. I used to make different things with Baby Yoda fabric, and I've actually been trying to find this fabric again forever because it was the cutest fabric in the world. It was like Baby Yoda with ice cream or something like that, and people really liked it. That was from Joann's. Don't know if I'm gonna find it again, but I remember her being absolutely obsessed with it. I remember a lot of people were really into that. It was really big. It was never my thing. I'm not really a sci-fi person. I'm not really a Star Wars person, and that's okay. But I think that it's time passed. And in a lot of ways, it's just not as exciting. It doesn't have the same grab that Baby Yoda had 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it first came out.
It would have been interesting to see if perhaps they had gone straight to a movie after season 1 did well. But again, they've used COVID as an excuse for so long, they probably wouldn't have wanted to risk it. Like they said, post-COVID, it's now been 7 years since they've released a Star Wars movie in theaters.
There's maybe you can call it... PC and AC, which is pre-COVID and after COVID.
That's what it feels like.
I was trying to give it like something that doesn't sound the exact same because you can't say BC because it's already a thing. So you say PC, that's pre-COVID. I think they use it as an excuse for their movies to fail. So when the movies do end up not doing well, they can say, well, the COVID era has been done.
Yes.
The COVID era has been over for years. People might be here and there. Taylor Lorenz might be stuck with her mask, but by and large, people have moved on from COVID.
They're going to have to start their hantavirus era.
Yeah, their Ebola era.
Point
2, number 2, right?
Here's the other thing that Star Wars, that Mandalorian and Grogu has as a problem going into the next couple of weeks, which is that we are about to hit June, and June is absolutely stacked with releases, albeit, some of them looking like they're going to be underwhelming. In June alone, we have He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. We have Scary Movie, which interestingly enough, I just saw today, recent box office tracking are saying that Scary Movie, which it opens the same weekend as He-Man, is going to edge out He-Man at the box office. It's going to make more, which I wasn't a fan of the Scary Movie trailer. I thought the humor was kind of just meh. Corporate comedy in general for me, like when they did the pronoun joke, I just kind of rolled my eyes and tuned out. And I'll admit that I did not see a whole lot of laughter at the theaters at the Mortal Kombat screening for the trailer.
But was that made for people that go to Mortal Kombat?
Yes. I
okay.
mean, they're adults.
Just a question. I mean, maybe, yeah.
So I didn't see a whole lot of laughter there, but it looks like Scary Movie is going to beat out He-Man at the box office, possibly domestically, but not just those two in June. So yes, He-Man, Scary Movie, Supergirl, Disclosure Day, which is the new Alien movie from Steven Spielberg, Toy Story 5, and then if you're an art nerd, you've got Death of Robin Hood with Hugh Jackman. So there's a lot coming out in June, and it feels like, given the fact that a lot of Star Wars movies recently are kind of like Marvel movies, meaning that they're front-loaded, it's going to have made a majority of its box office in that opening weekend. It doesn't necessarily bode well for its long-term box office projections, and it does not look like the movie is going to end up making a profit.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk. I have this labeled sad grads, but really what it is, it's the eternal battle between boomers, millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z as older generations tell younger generations when something sucks for them, good, it'll toughen you up.
Yeah, over the weekend, or I guess last week, I'll say, about 5 days ago, there was a high school in Central Tennessee that had absolutely torrential downpour going on. This was an outdoor ceremony. School officials said they expected to finish the ceremony on the football field before another wave of rain went through the area, but the downpour arrived sooner than they thought. This is from CBS News. If you want to pull up that one and show them, this is one of them accepting their diplomas in the torrential downpour.
This one here?
Yes, and the reason that we're talking
poor
about
photographer.
this one Well, there's also admins out there. The reason we're talking about this, you guys, is because this story has absolutely blown up on the internet with a lot of debate on if this is good, bad, or whatever. It is absolutely insane to me. We'll get into the conversations around it, but look at this.
This girl, this one's smart. I think it's a girl. I'm sorry. It's the shot's far away.
Yeah.
Looks like they at least wore like a raincoat.
Well, yeah, but they all look like they're wearing raincoats because the poncho. I see the poncho.
The poncho, yeah.
It's absolutely so. We have it on X here where she said, "Not my cousin's graduation going viral. Centennial High School administrators should be fired immediately."
One of them's gonna get like a cold and sick.
It's going to be like that president who did the long, it was William Henry Harrison did a very long, the longest in history speech when he got inaugurated, died 31 days into office. And they say it's because it was like cold and there's no, like that's not necessarily true,
fault.
But you can see they're like freezing, they're like rigidly walking. And of course a couple people have a poncho on, but at the end of the day, what's that actually going to do for you? Your hair is getting wet. You've got...
It looks like the diplomas are actually in like plastic.
That's how most of them come, but that's not their actual diploma. That's like the thing you can put it in for safekeeping.
Well, yeah.
You get it later. So that's just the picture.
It's been so
one.
long since I graduated. I don't remember when I...
Yeah, I got that at college as well. That's how I know. But we have it here from, I can never say this guy's name.
Kurt Schlichter.
He said, only a public school educator could be so stupid as to do this. Why do you respect teachers as a group? But that's not even the part I wanted to talk about. The rhetoric that I think we should be talking about and where it's, boomers, they're going to claim it's the boomers going wrong. From Lucy here, who said, solid preparation to life after high school with like the party face emoji.
That poor kid. Look at it's literally the meme of the dude in the pool.
Also,
in the
they're
chair
also
in the pool.
separated. Why are they separated?
Yeah.
Is it just to make it more like, I don't know. I'm hoping that's not like a COVID thing because that's awful. But you can see this kid looks so depressed. He's just sitting there. Why has my life come to this? Now, I think maybe we should put a poll in the chat while we have this conversation. Do you think that this toughens up kids, or do you think that this is actually quite sad and there should have been a backup and it's not toughening up kids, it's actually ruining, which at this point in their life is one of the biggest days ever?
Rainy graduation day.
Is it, are you saying let them suffer, or are you saying I feel bad for them? I personally do feel bad. I can't imagine. Mine was indoors, but I can't imagine at this point. This is the biggest thing to happen in a lot of these kids' lives. I know looking at it as an adult, you're like, well, you go through so many other things, right? You go through so many big events in your life. When you're 17, 18, graduating high school, that's the biggest thing you've ever done in your life. That is a huge achievement for a lot of kids. So to do this and really ruin, do you know how much makeup and hair and all of that they're doing for this, because for them this is a huge moment.
I saw
for pictures.
A meme earlier where this guy, I keep saying a meme. I saw an X post where a guy said like I got into an argument with my girlfriend in the rain once, and I thought we were having a rom-com moment, and she was just really it wasn't we got in an argument, like we ran under a gazebo after being caught in the rain, and I thought we were having a rom-com moment, and she was just pissed.
I mean, I usually take that stuff in stride. I think it's funny, but not everyone will. So I liken this to the biggest moment of a lot of people's lives, which is their wedding day. If it rains on your wedding day, no one's going to say to you, toughen up. Marriage can be hard sometimes. Buckle in. This is just how things go sometimes. No one says that to you. Everybody feels bad. There's money that goes into this. There is work that goes into it. There's makeup. There's hair. Everyone's dressed up nicely. Presumably the same thing for a high school graduation ceremony, at least for these kids. And you would never say that to somebody on their wedding day or their prom. Anything like that, you will never tell them to toughen up, ever. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
People always say like, oh, we'll always have a backup plan. That's why we got married inside, because I'm not messing with that.
Like, shouldn't the school have a backup plan?
I think they did, and
venue?
they still didn't go to it because they thought that they beat the rain. So this is Centennial High School,
so they're
which
just
is
lazy.
in Tennessee.
Like they just didn't want to set up a second venue.
I have no idea what actually happened, but it's not like this came out of nowhere. As you can see, they cited oncoming rain thinking they could beat it, so they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
These people knew this was happening, and they were so incompetent. So the question is now, does it toughen them up? I've seen some people saying like, oh, get ready for the real world, kids. Like, you're just ruining like one of their best days. And to me, that is far worse than just getting, I don't get it. I feel very bad for those kids. I know some people have the toughen up, life is tough attitude, but like there's so many other lessons they can learn like out of a graduation than toughen up. Like,
this has become like I think the large scale debate between because this is going on right now on X because of the DoorDash debate, which somehow continued into the weekend with Gen Xers with boomers into a smaller extent. Gen Xers, don't get your $5 lattes or your $7 lattes and you'll be able to buy a house one day. And it ended up being a discussion that we had because it ended up being one of those things where two things can be true at one time. Yes, people spend an inordinate amount of money on fast food and stuff when they could be doing better to be, saving money. But it's also true that life has become prohibitively expensive for everyone in a way that wasn't true for prior generations. And the problem is I think it falls back to a simple principle that most people don't take kindly to people complaining about their own circumstances. Oddly enough, people take very well to people complaining about other things. People take very well to critique of society, but very rarely do people seem to take well to the idea of like, my life is crap because this. Because when it's all said and done, we all have to figure out our own lives ourselves, and most of the time it just comes off as a bit indignant when you make it about yourself as opposed to the idea of making it about maybe larger societal issues. And I get that, but at the same time, people have the right to critique the way life has become as expensive as it is, the way the cost of homes has skyrocketed, the way that the wages have not grown with inflation, things like that. Makes perfect sense, but at the same time, depending on the day, you could get somebody in a completely different mood and they're like, ugh, like, figure it out.
Yeah, and that's true. I see in the chat they're even very divided. They're saying, some people are saying toughen up, some people are saying, are you heartless? I think that it's fair to say
these are still kids. Like, give them their graduation.
And
that
to say it's a little water, what are you worried about? First of all, it was not a little bit of water. It was a torrential downpour. Apparently, there was thunder and lightning in the area too, which is a whole nother safety issue. If they're sitting on anything metal in the area, and they're on a football field. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a dangerous thing that could, have affected all these kids or their families. And I just think that it's a bit, not even heartless, it's just a bit rude. People are going to take that mentality, but now it's all online too. You have to think about that. When a lot of the audience graduated, I'm sure most of them, it was not in the social media age, or social media was still up and coming. Now it's on TikTok, X, it's on everything. It's on TikTok, Instagram, X, all of that, whatever platforms. And that's one, a bit embarrassing, but two, I'm looking at this as a female who like curled my hair on graduation day and did my makeup, and I would have been very upset if it rained. And people are saying it's not the worst thing that'll ever happen. Sure, but at this point in their lives, it is. Like, maybe not the worst thing. I don't know what they've gone through, but I'm saying that for them, this is something that is one of maybe the worst things that's happened. Maybe not in the sense of like, no, I'm not saying it's like traumatic. I'm just saying that you look forward all of high school to graduation, and then it, like, instead of being like, oh, we had to go inside because it rained, that kind of sucked, you got absolutely drenched. And that level of rain, you are going to be like cold, shaking, like wet. And did you see how big like the class looked like it was? You're sitting out there for a very long time. This isn't a one and done quick thing.
Plus, we just know they graduate anybody these days. They're graduating with like third grade. Like they passed me, and that was in 2005. They'll pass me. They'll pass anyone.
That's a different problem entirely. The problem here is that it almost felt like a weird humiliation thing, where I would say, look, you can say why I feel bad for them. It's a life lesson. This is like their moment to they're proud of what they have done. Their parents are proud of them. This shouldn't be a moment that is suddenly, again, No one would say it to you on your wedding day, and presumably that's only once in a lifetime too, like graduating high school. When you're 18, you don't think about, oh, well, hopefully this doesn't happen in the future. Oh, this taught me a lesson about being tough in the real world. No one's going to actually learn that lesson from this. They learn that lesson by going to college, going out, getting way too drunk, and getting alcohol poisoning. That's how they learn to not do certain things. They don't learn it because it rained on their graduation day. So I think, I wouldn't say fire the entire administration, but there does need to be some kind of backup plan moving forward.
So that's what I think is important here. Everyone's framing the discussion around the children. The children, this is not going to break teenagers. They're going to be fine. The better question here is not whether the kids are going to be okay having to graduate in the rain. The question is, why are the teachers planning poorly, planning lazily, and not being punished for their poor job performance?
Yeah, no, I get that too. Again, but that's a whole nother conversation. Mm-hmm. This is, because again, I don't know who did this, who made this choice. Bud
says, toughen the F up. It's not about the kids. The kids are going to be fine. It's a question of whether the people in charge that are supposedly doing good work, that's what people are talking about all the time. Every day I open X and there's discourse around teachers needing raises, schools needing raises. If the schools can't even get their kids to graduate without getting them, just drenched in rain, then what are the taxes going for? I think it's less an indictment on the kids. The kids seem to be fine. It's how it happened to begin with.
No, I'm sure that there's probably that kid that was sitting there like with his head down. He's probably a little bummed out. It probably ruins graduation.
Just doesn't want rain in his eyes.
It probably ruins graduation day, at least for.
I bet you it doesn't.
You're not looking at it as a woman. You're not looking at it as a woman.
Well, that was a guy in that video.
I know, but you're not looking at it as the girls who spent 2 hours getting ready for this, and their parents were taking pictures, and they were so excited. Well, now they can't take any pictures after unless they want to be drenched. They might look back in 5 years and think it's funny, but I think that at that moment, we're looking at this years beyond high school, all of us. In that moment, that is one of the most important things happening in their life. It is a ceremony of recognition. There should be some level of dignity to it. This goes for the indoor ones of people dancing too. I don't think they should be doing that, but because I know someone's going to be like, well, what about the dancing?
You weren't a fan of that one either.
Didn't like that one either. My point being, there should be some level of dignity, and to say like toughen the F up, if that was my kid, I would feel really bad for them, because they were probably really excited to take pictures with their friends and finish high school. And it's kind of like it's the official closing of the chapter.
As the song Graduation Day by Vitamin C plays. Underrated jam.
It's, again, at 18, that's one of the biggest moments, one of the biggest ceremonies. It's a very big deal. I remember I was very excited. And so to say like, oh, toughen up, for them, this is something that, it's not even really them complaining, but there's a lot of things that go into planning a graduation ceremony. A backup plan should be number one that you have on that. And to not have that, this video is now causing a huge divide, and it's causing a divide in our poll right now.
Yeah,
it's actually insane that people say to toughen up, to me, because, yes, they are, I wouldn't say kids. It's not great, but at the same time, like, there's no reason to be like, oh, well, just toughen up. For these kids, this is a big deal, and they're probably, at least the girls, maybe some of the guys, you don't get to take pictures with your friends. You don't get to, now you have to go home and shower and get everything off you and peel off
there
your,
may
like,
be a bit
nylon.
of a gender divide here, because the guys are just going to approach this a little bit differently.
But also, they're not 18-year-old, kids graduating high school. You're looking at this as someone, and it's posted online, which is probably also another like oh man, now that's like everyone looks at me, I look like a wet rat online, and it's embarrassing. And I probably wouldn't have even gone to mine if they did that, because it's humiliating, and I feel bad for the kids that we're all looking forward to this, and instead of actually taking care of their students one final time, they just they don't care. That sucks.
All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. We'll leave that poll open until the end of the show. Somebody remind me before we're done to end the poll, because as you know, I always forget that. Let's move on. Did you know that the powers that be in Hollywood hate older women? They hate them. There is now scientific data to back this up. This is an article from Variety. It says films are more likely to star a man named Chris or a talking animal than an older woman. By older woman, they mean 60 plus. This is according to a new study, so thank you, data scientists, for helping prove that nobody likes old ladies anymore. A new study is out in the United Kingdom that found out that the top films from the past 3 years in the UK box office, movies are more likely to feature a lead actor named Chris than a female actor over the age of 60. The Age Without Limits survey found that the films are also 4 times more likely to have a talking animal as the lead than a female actor over the age of 60. As I pointed out in my tweet about this, Animal Farm had talking animals and Glenn Close, and that didn't work out well for anybody involved. So I don't want to hear anything about it, but I digress. Looking at the top 100 grossing films in the 2023, 2024, and 2025 years, 6 featured a man named Chris in the lead role, while just 5 starred a woman over 60. Oscar-winning actress Emma Thompson supports the Age Without Limits campaign, which is calling on the film industry to have better representation of older women in film. Quote, this is Emma Thompson's quote here, which, by the way, she was in The Sheep Detectives. So she was in a talking animal movie, but she was not playing a talking animal. She was a live action character. This is what she said. Women are half the population, and we get older. So where are the stories about us? The older we get, the more interesting we are. I want to see more films center around aging women. We are compelling, relatable, and overdue for center stage. Older women don't need permission to exist on screen. Actually, you do. The survey proves 110% that you do. What you're spewing is weird activist Marxist rhetoric. If you didn't need permission, these numbers would be different, but you need somebody to pay for the movie to be made. Thus, you need permission. Sorry. They already exist in the world. Cinema just needs to catch up, she said in a statement to Age Without Limits. The study named 5 films released in the UK that featured a female star over the age of 60 in the past 5 years. Jennifer Saunders of Absolutely Fabulous in Alleluia. They just listed a bunch of them. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, Diane Keaton, blah, 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 blah. Freaker Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis, blah, 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 blah. The Age Without Limits campaign also polled the British public for their opinions on including more older women in films. I noticed they're not actually asking about, like, what that means. Are they cool with making, like, geriatric Wick, where it's just an old woman named Jane doing a bunch of gun fu? Because that would be cool, I guess. Didn't really work out as well as they would have liked for Ana de Armas, and she's not even close to 60. When women were asked, 39% said that there are not enough films being made that feature female actors over the age of 60 as the lead character. Meanwhile, 16% of people said that they would be more likely to see a movie featuring a female over 60, twice the proportion that said it would make them less likely to see the film.
Who did they ask?
Was that like an anonymous survey? Because I want to meet the absolute kings and queens who are like, I don't want to go see old ass people on the screen. Like, I want to meet those people who, like,
39
put with their whole chest.
Look, I think if I was asked, are there enough old women in movies? I'd probably be like, I don't know and I don't care. They probably didn't take that into account when they were polling people. They said, you got to have an opinion one way or another. I don't care. This is giving, like, feminism already solved so many problems in their brains that now they have to basically make it not just feminism, but ageism. And so you have to add the isms into it.
The ladies are doing well on streaming. There's lots of TV shows starring women. And now they've turned, albeit this isn't necessarily women in their 60s, but they've turned the older woman, younger man rom-com trope into a thing. There's one coming out with, like, Brett Goldstein and Jennifer Lopez. It's coming out right now. Anne Hathaway made one. There's all sorts of women making those ones.
I don't understand why it's such a non-issue. If you need an older woman, you hire an older woman. Don't make the role an older woman just because you want to. It's like another quota that they want people to hit, and it's stupid.
She said that women over a certain age are relatable and they've got interesting stories to tell. I think that's where the real issue comes from.
Then put them in the writing room. Put them in the development.
So the point is, older men will get on screen because you know what they will do? They will take the premise for a young man's movie and they will just make the old man version of it, which means then you get Taken with Liam Neeson, or even Old Man Logan with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, or any of the other geezer teaser, that's an actual genre of movie, type movies where, you know, aging man who used to work for the CIA. It's Jason Statham's business model now as he gets older. Aging man. He was in the CIA. He was in the FBI. He was in the, you know, he was in the SAS. He's an old guy who is in special forces. He's trying to live a quiet life. He's got to come out of retirement to save some. He's got a granddaughter who's got to be saved. He's got a coworker who's got to be saved. He's got a dog that's got to be saved. He's got to save somebody. It's still the premise of a younger man's movie, just with an older guy in it.
I would say it's also that men can have those really cool jobs and do full careers and have that protector instinct to be like, okay, now I need to protect either a granddaughter or a young woman. Something happens where they need to be a protector, whereas women, it's just not as likely to have that specific storyline,
because it's even less believable.
Well, it's already,
the old guy is already not believable.
Well, it's already, I mean, that right, but it's also even less believable for a woman to be like, whoa, it was special force. Okay, sure you were, Jan, but like, it's just not one of those storylines. Also, to be making an issue, it's kind of like how a lot of progressives move the goalpost. So you see certain things, so there's not enough black people, well, no, they put more black people in it. Well, now they're not treated right on set is what I'm hearing, or something like that, where they just keep trying to move it even if it's not entirely true. I think that, first of all, a lot of women being in movies is about sex appeal. Let's just call it what it is. I'm just putting it out there.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a huge part of it. Old women, by and large, unless they get a lot of work done, aren't considered sexy.
Well, the thing I was going to say is the last time we ended up talking about this, I don't remember if it was Lucy Liu or if it was Jamie Lee Curtis or who it was that we were talking about, but they were complaining about the types of roles they got once they hit a certain age. They're like, I don't want to play the grandma. I don't want to play this. I don't want to play that.
It's tough.
And it's like, okay, then you need to sidestep and find, because one of the things that she says in that quote, she says, we're relatable. Well, guess what? Most women don't want to go watch action movies starring women anyways, because women want to watch action movies starring men, because that's the power fantasy for it's the fantasy that women have in that genre, right? It's that the guy is going to come and save the day because he is a protector. There is less interest in women seeing women save the day.
I also think that's correct, but also to be like, okay, now that I'm aging, I don't want to play certain roles. That's tough. But you got to play all these big roles. Now you want to take them away from young women who want to play these roles. That's not fair.
They don't even really have an idea of what that would entail. Like first of all, the types of avant-garde roles that they're probably talking about aren't designed for movie theaters anyways. They're designed for streaming shows where women are doing really, really well these days. But I think a lot of it comes down to the idea of gratitude. I just saw this right before we went live, which is that at a certain age, you're just happy to be getting any work. Okay? Sam Elliott, Landman, a million other things, but Landman recently had this quote where it says, Sam Elliott says he's happy to still be working into his 80s, even though he's no longer playing the young lead dashing man. Says, the fact that there's a part that I can get into and really enjoy doing, it's a wonderful thing. I determined early on that if I wanted to have a long career, I couldn't work for the dollar and do anything that came along. I had to be selective and judicious about what I was going to get involved with. And the thing is, most people don't have that luxury in the industry.
I think it's also about how you age. So some people age very well and some people don't age very well. And if you're not aging well and you choose to embrace that, you're not going to get the roles that you want to get as maybe the hot woman, right? That's just not going to happen. There are plenty of ways to put a woman in a role that is a big part of a movie. So the Sheep Detectives did that. She was playing a lawyer, an older lawyer. And
it's like Joshua Malini's like, who needs to hire me to be a lawyer? Because he just looks like a lawyer.
Well, he does. Yeah. He does look like a lawyer. He plays a lawyer and I guess he's like a speechwriter and a lawyer, or he did some kind of law stuff in the West Wing.
Because he was in the West Wing, and then he was in Scandal, and he played a lawyer in both. So lawyer. I just remember he had a tweet where he's like, I'm unemployed. If anybody needs me to play a lawyer, and he listed like 5 different types of lawyers that he's played. And he played a lawyer in like a random episode of Numbers, too.
Yeah, no, and he's perfectly typecast for that, right? So didn't he play a lawyer? He was somebody's sister's fiance. What was that show?
In Plain Sight.
In Plain Sight. He was a lawyer.
I don't think he was a lawyer. No, he was a business. He owned like a used car dealership.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But he was like a businessman.
Generically lawyerish.
Right. He does look generically lawyerish or like a businessman. And so I get why they're like, oh, I want to keep working. Good for them to have that drive of wanting to keep doing what they're doing. But at the same time, give younger people that chance to be able to do the same thing you did when you were younger. And it's not ageism. It's just when you grow old, you will become less desirable in a Hollywood movie. There's nothing wrong with that. But you can also do it in the way of where you can have them playing a role of maybe a former prosecutor who is a friend of the family. Or, for example, like, I know this was a man, but in Blue Bloods, they have Pop, who is not working anymore, but he still is somebody that they go to quite a bit for advice.
If you reverse the genders there, they might complain about having to play a grandma whose main role is to be Graham's.
But Graham would be great if she was a former commissioner. She still helps in a lot of those moments. You can work both those dynamics into it without it being one or the other. There's a way to do it, and they're basically saying, I have to settle to be one thing, when a character's more dynamic than black and white, and you can put that in there saying, hey, you are a grandma who's a former police commissioner, and sometimes you're mentoring the grandkids. Sometimes you're mentoring your kid, who is also now the police commissioner. Sometimes you're mentoring your grandson, who is a detective or a cop or whatever it might be. So it's not black and white. I think these women are just trying to have something to complain about. And since it can't be that they didn't have good careers because they did, they're like, well, now I'm old. It's like, okay, cool. It happens to everybody.
I'm going to read this quote from Dr. Carol Easton. Is OBE Order of the British Empire or something like that?
I think so.
Somebody, can you look that up? OBE. Chief Executive at the Center for Aging Better. She says, looks like she's the one in charge of, was I right? Okay. This is her quote about the whole thing. She says, it's absolutely ludicrous to think so few films have been made in recent years that have an older woman at the front and center. Up to 1 in 5 UK cinema attendees are aged 55 and above. This age group spends hundreds of millions of pounds every year on cinema. The representation of older actors in major roles is so disproportionate to the proportion of older women in the cinema-going audience. The lack of representation is insulting, frankly. Actually, what that proves is that representation theoretically doesn't matter, and they're not going to see movies to see themselves on screen. They're going to see movies to see other people on screen. Call me crazy, and I can't predict the future, but I assume that when I'm that age, and it doesn't even feel like that's that far away, when I'm 80 years old, I'm not going to want to watch movies about 80-year-olds. I'm going to want to watch movies about, younger people doing cool shit, but maybe I'm wrong. She continues, sadly, it's not just in cinema where this happens, and it's in many forms of media, in many different employment sectors and parts of public life. The input of older women is minimized, marginalized, and ignored. We must all push back against ageism and its intersection with sexism by telling the cultural gatekeepers that we want all aspects and stages of life represented in the things we watch, listen to, and read. I will actually make a fantastic argument to her point about what she's saying here in something that I was watching last night, which is old episodes of Rizzoli and Isles, which has Detective Rizzoli as a cop and her mom, who Olivia absolutely hates in the show. Cannot
stand her mom.
I love the mom in the show. She's fantastic.
No, she's not.
Lauren Bracco is fantastic. But she's basically the mom who worries about her kids, and she divorces her husband, who's a cheater, and has to basically restart in her 50s, like just to restart her life, and start over, get like her first job, all this stuff. And it was actually really, really, I mean, I know you didn't like the character, but I actually really, really enjoyed the way in which they showed this woman rebuilding her life from the ground up.
She's horrible.
That's a story.
Okay,
but the point is, I don't know if the people who wrote this article would view that as a good story for a woman, because they'd call it stereotypical.
Okay, the story is great, perseverance and all that. It's her behavior with her kids.
Don't listen to her, guys.
No, she literally outed this movie. The show's been out long enough. Jane's pregnancy to multiple people, and that is something that the mother of said child should be doing, not the grandma. Okay, it's not that is one thing that women want to share. That is something they like doing. Also, she was trying not to tell everybody about it. She was trying to keep it on the DL, and she went out and told, she blabbermouth, and she's awful. She gets in way too much. She's like, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to go and be a helicopter mom.
Anti-Angela propaganda going on
she
right
said,
now.
oh, we're going to get into this and we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell everybody your news and I'm going to cause problems for you. And then I'm going to make your life a lot harder. And then when I leave every day, I'm going to say something really insulting to you. Like the time yesterday we were watching.
Your eye twitches.
Oh, yeah. Your eye twitches when you get tired. Don't forget that. What is the point of that? Don't tell her that. That's rude. Like, she knows that.
Mom just wants her to get some sleep.
She literally said,
she's
I know, Mom. And she's like, when you drink and you get too tired, your eye twitches. Literally, shut up. There's no reason to embarrass your child like that.
It's anti-Angela propaganda.
Yes.
She's great. She's
no,
great.
she's not. She's
great.
The most irritating, most frustrating TV mom I've ever seen because she's not really a mess. Like, a lot of them are messes, and so you kind of let them have that leeway. She's not even really a mess. She's just very annoying, and every time she gets on screen, I physically am like, turn the show off because she's so just... It was, and I think the worst one was when she went and told about the pregnancy. It just
that was
something that's something that like almost is unforgivable in my eyes as a woman. And my stepmom would never do this because she's lovely. But if my stepmom started going around and telling everybody, I'd be like, hey, don't do that. That's my news. And she would understand that, right? She would never do that because she gets that. So she just had no like. You know, how would you have felt when you were pregnant if someone did that? Probably not very good. Don't do that. Don't go out, talk, and there's no need to do that.
But I did have breakfast today.
Sorry, guys. Sorry for the unhinged rant.
Okay.
I just can't stand Angela.
All right, let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, data scientists, for proving that Hollywood hates women. The feminists are going to be pissed. Let's move on. What would you like to see, cringe or cue to the day?
Cringe. It went viral over the weekend. A lot of people probably saw this, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. We will do cringe first then. Here we go. It says, seen on the Madrid metro, there was a time when they used to lock up people like this. Didn't even crawl away.
No, like
didn't even commit to the bit.
Didn't commit to the bit, and I would have respected it a lot if they had at least commit to the bit there. Now, this is a foreshadow for a topic later. If you look at this girl's mouth, she's got one of those little bubble popper things, the sensory toys in her mouth, and then runs away. That'll come up again later, but that wasn't even intentional. I just noticed it, but yeah.
Yeah. How do you think that? How would they feel? How would they feel if you threw like a dog treat at it? Or is it a cat?
I think that was a dog because of the.
Okay. If you threw a dog treat, would they be offended, or would they be like, I'm living the bit so well that they're?
It depends how dedicated they are to their craft. I think if they're very dedicated to their craft, maybe they take it. It's another one is just the fact that they're in public doing this. Like some of the videos I've done in Cringe, at least they're in their house doing their own thing. It's cringy to put it on the internet. This is in public. You're whining like a dog in public.
Yep. All right.
I hate it.
All right. Let's move on then. That was
so cute of the day. Let's that dog's right there is not real. That's right.
Oh. That's a very cute
That's a
puppy.
real dog, though.
Yes.
That one's a real dog. Hi. Do we have a name, or is it just no caption?
It's from Kit Catalina, and it doesn't say anything.
Oh, Kit Catalina. I've seen her online before. Okay.
Yep.
That is a very cute smiling puppers.
Looks very happy.
Very happy puppy. I love that.
We support that.
Whatever your dog's name is, tell the dog we said hi, give it a nice little rub and a belly rub and a treat from both of us, please, because there's nothing better than giving a puppy a nice treat.
All right. Unless it's the one on the subway. In that case, they don't want that.
I meant real dogs. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. So we've talked pretty much about the Odyssey. We've talked a great deal about the Odyssey, actually. You okay there? Okay. I thought you were okay. Okay. All right. Roll that back here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what the hell that was. All right, let's talk about the Odyssey. So Christopher Nolan gave an interview with Time Magazine recently, and Lupita Nyong'o has since come out and talked and spoken about how she is not really concerned with the backlash facing the Odyssey. She says that the casting for the movie represents the global audience that the movie's looking to attract. I've got some comments made by the Greeks here today. We're going to look at their response to all of this, but the real problem is that Christopher Nolan's 60 Minutes interview hasn't really done anything to quell the problems that people seem to have with the casting on this movie, which is trending in a negative direction, and that can be seen here because Cosmic Book News reports that the Odyssey's audience interest plummets. The Odyssey's audience. I had to say that 5 times fast. The Odyssey's audience interest plummets amid Christopher Nolan backlash. It looks like awareness for this movie has slipped from 42 to 40, and interest has dropped 8 points, which is not good considering how far out we are from the release of the movie. It says audience interest in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey has taken a big hit. The latest audience tracking numbers show interest in the movie has dropped 8 points, falling from 54 to 46, according to the Quorum via Puck News. Awareness also slipped 2 points to 40. The drop comes after weeks of controversy surrounding Nolan's casting choices, Lupita Nyong'o's comments about playing Helen of Troy, backlash from fans online, and even Nolan's recent 60 Minutes appearance, which does not appear to have helped calm things down and may have actually backfired. The latest Quorum numbers show the Odyssey has lost momentum with audiences. Interest dropped from 54 to 46, which is a steep 8-point slide from one of the biggest movies in the 2026 calendar. Audience awareness fell 2 points from 42 to 40. Quorum tracking measures how aware audiences are of upcoming movies and how interested they are in seeing them. For a big budget tentpole from Christopher Nolan, the interest drop is the bigger concern. The Odyssey still has time before release, but the latest numbers suggest online backlash is real and may be starting to bleed into general audience perception. Yeah, I kind of look at this as the type of thing is when it makes its way to Instagram memes and video memes is when you know it's kind of breached containment and it's no longer people just arguing about things on X. That's how you knew that things breached containment on Harry Potter casting really, really fast. As soon as the Snape casting was announced, the amount of memes and skits that were coming out on Instagram was absolutely insane and only doubled and tripled after first pictures of Papa Esiadu came out, and then eventually his one clip in the trailer. There were so many satirical bits being put out. You knew that this wasn't just no-name, Anons on X arguing about diversity. It was actually something that was making its way to the general public, and it doesn't look like for the Odyssey that it's going away. The drop follows controversy over Nolan's casting decisions on the Odyssey, including Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. Nyong'o plays both Helen of Troy and her sister. Helen is traditionally described as the daughter of Zeus and the face that launched 1,000 ships. The casting has been criticized online, including by Elon Musk, who called out Nolan's approach and accused Hollywood of pushing DEI casting. Nyong'o's recent addressing the backlash by saying it's a mythological story and that she is not spending time defending the casting. She said, and we're reiterating here, guys, if you were here to watch this segment when we initially talked about it, you should go back and watch that one. We talked about it in more depth. She said, I'm very supportive of Chris's intentions with it, and with this version of the story that he is telling, she said, our cast is representative of the world. The comments did not end the debate. They only added more fuel to it because now it looks like there is some hypocrisy from Lupita Nyong'o in relation to those comments about how this version of the Odyssey is representative of the world, because old comments about Black Panther came up that she had made. She said, Nyong'o faced criticism after resurfaced comments about Black Panther made the rounds online. In an older interview, she praised Black Panther for pushing back against the misrepresentation of Africa and for representing real African cultures. And then, of course, people can get into their debate about whether or not, is a historical fantasy epic something that's mythological epic, is that much different than the creation of Black Panther, which I believe Stan Lee created Black Panther. So you can have a whole discussion about where representation should or shouldn't be. And I'm sure people are having that debate right now still online. Critics are now accusing her of a double standard, arguing that she cared about proper representation when it came to African culture, but had no issue playing a Greek mythological figure in the Odyssey. So you've kind of seen all of this from more of the distance, because you've seen, I've been covering it. I've been, when Mary's on more so, but also like I'm constantly looking at stuff like this. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, the way that Homer describes her, Helen of Troy, is that she is lovely haired and white armed. Now, did he mean she is white in color, or if she's wearing white? We don't really know. Lovely hair. Last I checked, Napita Nyong'o, I can never say her name, but she has like very short, like tightly curled hair. I don't know if that's like lovely hair, if they're gonna put a wig on or what. But going purely off that,
I mean, if we're steel manning here, that's like a subjective thing. But I get your point.
I mean, is it?
You know what I'm saying?
The white skin part is not.
That part is not subjective. The other part, I'm saying, I'm always trying to come up with the argument that somebody's going to make back to you.
See, I would think lovely hair is like long, full, like thick hair. But again, maybe not. I don't know. Someone could think that hair is lovely. That's fine. I do think that calling it out, that was always going to happen. I think they knew that was going to happen, and I think they knew that was going to create buzz around the movie. When you, I think
Christopher Nolan might have
so many times that in Hollywood you always have to wonder now when someone gets a role, are they meeting a DEI standard?
No,
so
I'm
that
not
has
arguing
to apply here as well.
No, I'm arguing that Nolan thought it was going to be a controversy. I think Christopher Nolan's actually, like, his track record is good enough and he's been successful enough that he didn't think it would matter with his filming.
Then he's naive in thinking that it wouldn't matter with his filming. And, well, I think, yes, it can be. This could all end up by the wayside. If the movie's good and it does really, really well at the box office, a lot of people are willing to forgive a lot of faults with something like that, but that remains to be seen. The pre-sale tickets for this over a year ago for IMAX screenings sold out. Christopher Nolan, as a filmmaker, is still a bankable name. Whether this movie does well or not is going to dictate a decent amount for his future, but we'll have to see just how powerful his name is, given the fact that this type of bad publicity can end up harming a box office. Obviously, the drop in interest points and the drop in awareness points seems to indicate, like I said, that this is breach containment in a way, and it might be turning some people off who maybe aren't into the culture war but are just like, I don't know. Well, Mike in chat, thank you. He said the curls are further described as golden locks.
There
so
you
she
go.
had long,
so
blonde,
not subjective.
Curly hair. Yeah. We have a 20 here from Katie from Australia. Hello, Olivia and Brett. I almost died of cringe last week when I saw a man wearing a cattail who had green hair at the supermarket wearing a flower backpack. You know what? We've seen similar out here in our neck of the woods.
It happens.
It's not just you guys, for what it's worth. I hope that, I don't know if that'll help or hurt, but you're not alone. We've seen similar.
So this is what I want to talk about. We are now going to watch how, this is from the Greek City Times, and we are going to watch we're going to read an entire article as they plead for representation while begging to not be called racist. So let's go through this. You're gonna love this. It says, a letter to Hollywood and Nolan's Odyssey cast from us Greeks. And I do apologize, guys. As you know, if graduation was based solely on ability to read, I don't know if you have it. If I start having problems, I'll send it over to you.
Okay.
It says, to the cast and creative team of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, we write to you as Greeks, not as fragments of antiquity, not as echoes from museum displays, not as characters sealed in marble, but as living people whose story has never stopped being written. First, we wish you well. Cinema has always carried the power to reimagine ancient texts, to cross borders of language and time, and to reintroduce old stories to new generations. Homer's Odyssey belongs in many ways to the shared cultural imagination of humanity. We understand the ambition behind bringing it to the screen on a global scale, and we recognize the artistic tradition of reinterpretation that has surrounded these epics for centuries. Remember, they're literally like, don't they're basically like, if you were complaining about Lupita Nyong'o, they're like, I've got a black friend, don't be mad at me.
Right.
But we also ask you to consider something that is often overlooked in modern retellings of Greek stories. We did not vanish. Greek people did not disappear after the age of myth. Greek culture was not frozen in classical marble. Greek language was not extinguished in antiquity. We are still here. And this is where I suck because I can't read a lot of their language, their words, but I'm going to do my best. For more than 3,000 continuous years, Greek identity has persisted through transformation rather than disappearance. From the Mycenaean world. By the way, guys, if I'm butchering these names, you can roast me in the chat. That is fine. From the Mycenaean world that gave rise to the Homeric epics through the classical city-states of Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and Thebes, into the Hellenistic period that spread Greek language and thought across the Mediterranean under Alexander's successors, through the Roman and Byzantine eras where Greek remained a dominant language of administration, philosophy, and theology, into the Ottoman centuries where identity was preserved through language, faith, and community, and finally into the modern Greek state that emerged through the revolution and continues today within Europe and the wider world. At every stage, something essential remained unbroken: language, memory, and cultural continuity. Greek is still spoken today, the oldest continuously surviving language in Europe, not reconstructed, not revived, but lived. I thought what they were going to be doing here was making an argument that the movie should have been in Greek, which I think is the easiest to disprove as far as like, it's going to kill your box office. There's no way they're going to do that, but that's not the way this article goes. It says, this is why conversations about... back up here. The continuity matters when stories like the Odyssey are retold. Odysseus is not only a universal symbol of endurance, struggle, and homecoming, he is also part of a cultural inheritance that has been carried throughout every one of those historical layers, retold by Byzantine scholars, preserved in manuscripts, copied through the medieval world, studied during the Renaissance, and still taught, spoken, and reinterpreted in Greece today. This is why conversations about representation matter deeply to us. We are not asking for exclusion or limitation. We are not arguing against diversity nor against reinterpretation. Greek culture itself has always been shaped by exchange, migration, and encounter across centuries. What we are asking for is something simpler and more human. That when Greek stories are told on a global stage, Greek people are not rendered invisible within them. In recent years, the film industry has rightly placed increasing emphasis on representation, ensuring that cultures are acknowledged, voices are included, and lived experience is not erased in the process of storytelling. Indigenous stories increasingly involve Indigenous voices. Cultural consultation is becoming more standard practice. Identity is treated as part of artistic responsibility. We ask only that this awareness extend to Greek heritage as well. Not because Greek identity is fragile, but because it is continuous. In discussion around the Odyssey, some have argued that the mythology belongs to the world and should not be bound by cultural origin. Others see casting diversity as a reflection of the modern global audience rather than the historical specificity. We understand those perspectives, but universality does not require disconnection from origin. A story can belong to humanity while still recognizing the people and language from which it first emerged. That's the problem here. They want exactly what they say they want, but they're not willing to say that you should exclude others to get it.
Am I insane, or is there not like a mass amount of Greek actors that could do this? So like, by and large, like I'm looking up like who are Greek actors today, and there's just not a ton of other ones. Like, I guess Jennifer Aniston's technically Greek. Zach Galifianakis is Greek.
Let's go! Get him!
John Stamos is Greek, but I'm just saying...
Oh my gosh, John Stamos as Odysseus would have been incredible.
But I'm saying that there is not a lot of, actors from Greece that have the accent and all that. They're acting like there's this plethora of actors that we could just pull into this movie.
The thing is, you're listing American Greeks. There are Greek actors from all over the...
Yeah, but you're not going to drive people with some small name... Greek actor from some kind of stage play.
Somebody in the chat, who's that lady from like one of the original CSIs that is like the most Greek name I've ever heard? I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to continue here because they're not done.
There's more?
They say, we say this not in anger, but in recognition, because too often Greek history is treated as something that ended rather than something that continued, as if Greek exists only in the classical past rather than through the Byzantine continuity, through the Ottoman endurance, through revolutionary rebirth, and into the present day in cities, villages, islands, and diaspora communities across the world. So as you step into Homer's world, into seas, wanderings, gods, and returning kings, we ask that you carry this awareness with you, that Greece is not only a setting in antiquity, it is a living country. Greek people are not historical figures. We are contemporaries. It goes on and on. They're basically saying, like, look, we don't think you're casting properly, but we're too scared to say it with our whole chest because we do actually believe in diversity. But at the same time, it kind of proves the messiness of art, which is that you either enforce quotas or you give the artist their own, freedom to cast as they want. Whatever is in between is up for debate. And that debate usually ends with somebody getting called a racist.
I mean, it's so dumb. It's just like this word salad of saying nothing. If you're going to write this long letter, at least make it say something. That's not
I think they were too scared to say something.
Then don't write the stupid letter. You're just wasting everyone's time by writing the letter. And Greek culture is important. Greek mythology, it's based on Greek culture, but it's Greek mythology. Like, it doesn't, again, you can say what you want about race swapping or whatever, but it just seems like such a non-issue at this point. If they think that they're going to be able to go back and just be like, oh, you're right, Napita Nyong'o, like, we're just gonna recast it. That's not even going to happen. I'm sure there's a bunch of
nobody's under that illusion right now.
I'm saying there's probably enough Greek representation.
Not in the main cast from what they've seen.
In the movie, as far as, like, structures and things they say and things they do,
it's
and
not
the
just
general
the people, it's
also like part of the environment where they are, all the different things. So there might be, like, there's gonna be like Greek architecture, there's gonna be Greek symbolism, there's gonna be all this stuff that's there. And just because the actors aren't, now I get it, because a lot of people have problems with race swaps, but it's too little too late. They should have written this letter a year ago before the casting even began, saying, we understand what you guys are doing. Let's try to preserve this culture in casting, not after the fact. That's like writing a strongly worded letter. It's like the UN. Don't even get me started, really. But, like, it's like the UN, like, something happens, like, for example, Russia, Ukraine, and they write a strongly worded letter about how they're upset this thing happened. You can't go back and change it. What are you doing? Like, we get it. You don't approve of it, but did they actually write this? I don't.
Well, it was written by, like, a group of people. It was written by.
They plug it into, like, Grok and say write a strongly worded
Greek City
letter.
Times by guest contributor. It doesn't even list the name.
Yeah, that's even worse. They don't even put their name to it.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It's signed KN at the end.
What does that mean?
Maybe I'm assuming it might be that person's initials. They don't want to get called racist, so they qualify their statement 30,000 times.
Which is even worse, because it's like, just say it or don't. In my opinion, just say it or don't.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Samantha Busch.
Yeah, so if you guys recall, I believe it was last Friday, Kyle Busch, who was a NASCAR racer, tragically died after a bout of pneumonia, which developed into sepsis, as we learned over the weekend. And this happened right before the Coca-Cola 600, which is a big event in NASCAR. I don't know NASCAR all that well, but I knew who Kyle Busch was. And I know enough of, like, the big names to know what this was. And yes, it was very unexpected. It happened very fast. So they were going to honor him. Now, mind you, this had to be done very fast. He died Friday, and this event was Saturday and Sunday, if I remember correctly. So when he died, they said in a statement that basically, sepsis led to organ failure. And by the time that they got him to the hospital, it was already too late. He was part of, Busch's parents, Tom and Gay. Did they mean Gail, or is her name actually Gay? Busch stood alongside his brother Kurt, who was a retired NASCAR Cup Series champion. They were included in, they had raced together in 2010, I believe. So they're saying no one feels fully prepared to speak at a moment like this. So they did a moment of silence. They laid 8 roses down on the grass there and talked, to Samantha. So both Samantha and his 2 children, a boy and a girl, I believe his son is 11, his daughter is younger, were also present at this. And there have now been videos going around, and the reason we're talking about this is the reaction to Samantha Busch's moment of silence, like standing there. I don't even know what to call it because it wasn't like an appearance, really. I think she was already planning on being there, but you can see here we have it from Christy, and this is where you'll understand where we're going here. Christy says, America, this is what a real grieving widow looks like.
Yes,
Rest in peace, Kyle Busch.
They're politicizing it, and they're making it about Charlie Kirk and Erika Kirk.
That is correct. So as you got, it's disgusting, first of all, first and foremost, to make this about this is what a real grieving widow looks like. Her husband, lack of a better term, isn't even cold yet, right? And you're making this a political statement. And you can go to the comments here, and I think our comments might be different, but I'm going to read one from someone that I follow. She's a great accountant, No Soup for Knowles. Britta, if you guys know who that is. She said if it was Erika, they'd say she was faking and pointing out the lack of actual tears. There's no winning with these people. They have hate in their hearts and are filled with pride. Stop it. So you can see she's kind of crying, but like she leans into her son a little bit, and people are saying that, were there real tears? I think this policing of widows in general is awful, regardless of what you think of them as a person. And she was going through, this Christy person was now going through and responding to comments, which was throwing fuel to the fire. Someone said using one's private pain to shame another widow isn't the flex you think it is. She said, why is Erika's used as that then? Why is Erika's used as that then? Are you standing behind your full statement? Going through, and people are saying shameful post. We all know what you meant. She said, for good reason, because it's the truth. Thanks. We've talked a lot about the lack of, I'm trying to think about the right way, the desensitization of people and of widows. And you don't have to like Erika Kirk. You can have whatever theories you want. I personally don't actually care. But when you make this into a whole thing about somebody's widow, and to say, she's going through this, and your very first thought is, well, Erika didn't grieve like that. Why do you care so much? Is my question. You can't just let this woman have her moment. I found this one too, which I thought had more replies on it, but I guess it doesn't, from J Street. But she said what a real grieving widow looks like. That was more just to outline this isn't the only person saying it here. There are other people saying it. I was going through replies and quotes and found a couple that were saying that.
There's some quotes here that say, wait a second, where are all her fireworks?
Yeah. And that, now mind you, and I'll defend this, I know people had a lot to say about it. My opinion is that was their way, whether it had been good or bad for PR. That was their way of honoring what Charlie liked doing at events. Also, that wasn't a funeral. A lot of people mistake it. It was a memorial, a celebration of life. And a celebration of life doesn't have to be sad. You can celebrate the life that person led. And in Christian faith, that is a very, it's kind of like a pillar of how to celebrate someone's life. It doesn't always have to be sad. No, you can tell. That's why when, for example, Brett, this at my Nana celebration of life, I went up and I told a kind of a funny story, but then I also told some stuff like, I miss you and all that. So to say that, it's for a good reason that I'm posting this. This is what it really looks like. Just, by the way, this woman's from Canada. I have no problem with Canadians, but don't sit here and tell us this is what a real grieving widow looks like. America. Like, that's just one of those things where, say what you will. I think that it's Occam's razor. It's as simple as these are 2 different people grieving 2 different deaths. These are 2 different women who have 2 different public profiles going into becoming a widow. Whatever. Sorry, I lost the word there for a second. And this was probably an event they already planned on going to. This was an event they had to put together. So you go and you do the moment of silence, and she didn't have to, but she chose to go, much like Erika chose to make a statement a few days following her husband's death. The deaths are extremely different. So both deaths, one is an assassination of a public figure. Another was a very tragic disease, a very sudden and onset tragic disease that then, he passed away. So they're two different things. And who's to say that Charlie didn't want to have if he did like a public thing, have all the pyrotechnics and everything. What do you think of this? And we've seen it more and more, especially when it comes to Charlie or Erika Kirk. What's your opinion on kind of the desensitization? Where do you think it comes from? Where do you think?
It's because everybody lives their life in this internet vacuum now, where everybody's a public figure and everybody is kind of at the mercy of other people's opinions. And I don't have it in me to think about or judge the grief of anybody who's lost someone and have to sit there and have some type of analytical debate about what is or is not the right way for a person to behave after they lose a loved one. The worst that can happen to me in that situation is somebody ends up being evil. And I guess I gave the benefit of the doubt to somebody who ended up being evil if it came out later that was in fact what it was. I think it's safer for yourself, and it's better as far as putting some weight on your heart to give the benefit of the doubt to somebody who's lost someone, and not give way to a world where you're suspicious of that constantly. Now, that is not to say it's the idea of being naive. I understand that evil people exist and evil people can exploit grief. Is that the situation? Is that the case in this situation? No idea. I don't care. It's just not a discussion that I'm willing to have, because I have my own life and I have things in my life that I need to do and I need to focus on. And I'd argue that most people would probably benefit more from avoiding going into that debate.
I do think too that trying to cast aspersions or anything on someone, again, two different scenarios. So I think there's only one similarity between these two women that I can see. And it is, they are both widows very suddenly. That's it. That's the only similarity I see. And they've got young kids, maybe. That's another one. But Erika has babies, and then they have kids.
If tomorrow it was revealed that both of these women were like evil and were like wishing this to happen,
I would much rather give a widow the benefit of the doubt than to believe in my heart that everyone is so evil.
It does not hurt me one bit to give the benefit of the doubt to somebody. And if I'm proven wrong, so be it.
I would rather know that I thought the right way about people, I guess, or try to not the right way, but like the positive way.
You give the benefit, if okay. So nobody is saying that you need to live a life of naivete, that you need to give everybody the benefit all the time, that you should be happiness, gumdrops and roses and rainbows all the time. That's not the world we live in. Absolutely not. But there are probably places in which you can give a little bit of exception. And in this case, if it means that I retain a little bit more of my own soul and my own optimism for the future, then I'll give the benefit of the doubt and move on with my life and hope that they find peace. And if they're evil, hope that justice is done.
I'd also never know how to publicly grieve. So if something, God forbid, something were to happen to you and someone put a camera in my face and wanted me to grieve publicly, I don't know how I would do that. I genuinely don't know how I would respond to that. No one knows how they would respond to that.
They say that this was like walking pneumonia, which is something people were asking me if I had like a month ago or like a couple of weeks ago because my cough lingered.
But you went to the doctor, and so I don't know if he had or what was going on there. I know a lot of people are going to say it's a very feminine thing for me to do and I'm being naive and I'm just not looking at it the right way. Look, think what you want, but I choose to believe that going after a widow, one, it's not biblical. The Bible literally tells us to protect widows. And two, we have no idea what their day-to-day life was like. It's just not fair to sit here going on months now, having the internet absolutely rail you. Then something happens to someone else, something very tragic, and suddenly Erika is now this horrible person. No one said anything when Charlie was still alive, but now Erika's a bad person after Charlie's gone. So it's like, you're going to sit here and, again, it's more the fact that they're trying to compare these two women when maybe Erika could be a shoulder to cry on. Hey, I lost my husband, very suddenly as well. Maybe these women don't like crying in public. Maybe they just don't like shedding tears in public, no matter how emotional they are. Everyone's different.
I am going to push back a little bit on part of it, which is that My thoughts on whether to give the benefit of the doubt aren't connected to what I feel like about satire that has surrounded this, which is that as both of these women are public figures to varying degrees. Erika Kirk
wasn't as much before.
Wasn't as much, but is more so now, and the head of a major organization. That I don't think that you get to complain about the satire that's made, because that is a side effect of being in the public eye and running a very, very public company. Okay, but
some of it's just not funny is the problem.
I mean, but that's a subjective. We cannot think it's funny.
I don't think that the meme of the water fountain with Charlie's neck is funny at all. I don't think anyone would find that funny. Okay, see, that's what like my brain went to. Someone made a meme where they like build this statue and it's a fountain and the water's spewing out of Charlie's neck.
Dark humor that is like uncouth to a large swath of the population is always going to exist.
But that's a whole nother. I get what you're saying, but they're not comparing them in a humorous way. No one is making memes. No, I'm
just kind of I'm expanding the conversation because it's my thoughts on this are more complicated than just right or wrong.
I get it entirely, and it's up. But I do think too, like for me, when my mom died, it became more about like, yeah, I might make jokes about it, but if someone else did, it's kind of like when someone picks on your sibling and you're like, only I can do that. That might be how it feels sometimes for people. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay or right, but that is the human, experience, is to be like, maybe I can on my terms when I'm ready, and they're not coming from a place of malice. The jokes are coming from a place of coping and love, as opposed to it coming from a place of malice and hatred. So I think that's a big distinction to make there as well. But to compare these two women and not let them grieve in their own ways, I don't understand. I don't. It boggles my mind that people can attack these two women so vehemently and think they know everything about their lives, and then to publicly compare them. Well, this woman just lost her husband and is now taking on being a single mother. And the most dangerous, she probably thought, if anything, her husband might die on the track in a tragic accident. Not that he would just fall dead one day, basically. I don't think that was I think she just thought, oh, he's sick, but he's going to work. That was the last thing in her mind. Now, sepsis can be very rare, especially when walking pneumonia gets that bad. I bet
he's being a professional athlete. Like, he was seeing doctors regularly.
Oh, I'm sure. And again, that's why this is so much more unexpected. I don't think it had anything. I think that this, and Charlie's was very tragic, though they knew there was always that threat, right? But I think for her, she never would have thought that he would die. If anything, he does a wrong turn, and maybe that's the most danger he puts himself in, right? Being on the track.
That's a very dangerous job.
I know, but I'm saying that she would expect that to happen, not for him to be going into a meeting and fall dead. And now there's a 911 call that's out. Now this is getting more and more public. So I just think it is very disingenuous to try to compare these women. It's very wrong, but it's
very indicative of like the type of brain a person has. Like, if you go there immediately, like, it's obviously something you focused heavily on,
right?
And it's probably like hurting your quality of life to focus on it that heavily to the point where you need to make that point.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. It's time to talk about. You know what? Just to preface, we dunk on the Gen Zers a lot. It feels like the media wants you to, because they write so many articles about it. But it's not me. It's the people writing the articles.
Yeah, you're just highlighting them.
But this has more to do with the fact that if you've got Gen Z kids, you might need to buy them some sensory toys.
Yeah, so like we mentioned earlier with the Cringe of the day, she had a sensory toy. I don't know what that is technically called. I'm seeing if I can find it in here. But there is, if you look here on the article, we have it in the very top image. It is like a dimple popper, I think I've seen. Well, fidget toys, you guys remember the fidget spinner craze that went viral years ago? This is kind of the next steps in what that is, and that is fidget toys in general. Fidget toys that are maybe more like squishies or things that kids buy, to whether it's like a lot of them they're geared towards kids with autism that have fine motor function issues. Now we are looking at it as something they are buying. Now, again, this goes to the dumplings. The dumplings are technically a fidget toy. And we saw a dumpling over the weekend, did we not? We saw that thing of dumplings at the checkout. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're there. And the lady behind us in line was talking about how their kids love it. So I'm going to read from this Real Simple article here. It's called Real Simple, not that the article is simple. Saying the key takeaways, sensory toys and tools work by giving the nervous system repetitive sensory input that may help some people feel calmer or more focused. Gen Z's openness around mental health combined with constant screen time helped them normalize sensory tools well beyond childhood use. Sensory tools are not a cure for mental health issues, but they may help some emotional regulation. So I did this a lot after my mom died. I would fidget quite a bit. I'm a fidgeter. You guys see me moving around all the time. You see Brett.
I'm a fidgeter.
He's a fidgeter. We will play with our rings. We will.
I
grab the mic a lot. That's my fidget. I grab the mic a lot.
I don't do this a lot. You'd think I'm not a jewelry person. After like a month of being married, I stopped doing this.
And you were sure that wouldn't. You were like, I'm never gonna.
Well, no, because I got a different ring. I got the ring I got was too big.
But you thought you would really always do that. But after like a month, when it fits right, you're good to go. So they're saying primarily Gen Z is more focused on the importance of tending to their emotional health, which has now become, again, this is another thing where you get like the blind boxes and they become toys. So they're buying these toys. I used to have a bunch of fidgets.
That a lot of this has to do with screen time. That screen time inherently makes you more anxious. Therefore,
but you're also influenced by what the people are buying on there. And so you see a fidget toy, you go, that's going to be really cool to own. Okay, Jan.
You know what one of the really popular one is right now is the Nice Cube.
The Neato Nice Cube thingy.
I saw this.
These things are also something that adults buy in droves.
I saw this here. This made me laugh. I'm sorry. I have to read this. It's from Nancy M. And in my mind, this is Nancy Mace saying this. So imagine, I don't know if anybody knows what Nancy Mace sounds like, but imagine this in her voice. It says, parents PSA, my daughter bought one of the trendy squishy sensory toys yesterday. Out of pure curiosity today, I smelled it, and it was shocking how strong the chemical/gasoline-like odor was.
There is a crazy odor to some of those.
I immediately had her wash her hands, and we washed the toy as well. And then this is where we get into like the mom Facebook group of it all. Oh. This is not meant to shame parents at all, because most of us are not sitting around smelling our children's toys. We trust that products being marketed to kids are safe and properly manufactured. Yes, they're safe and effective. I also realize I may have a stronger sense of smell than some people, because that's like a humble brag. Okay. And she's probably like, I'm a super taster. And honestly, I'm thankful for that in this situation, because otherwise I probably never would have realized how strong the chemical smell was. Just a friendly reminder to wash new squishy/sensory toys before use. Have kids wash their hands after handling them. Avoid sleeping with them near faces and pillows. Throw them away if they leak or have an overwhelming odor. Oddly enough, I imagine that the parental instructions given here are probably one of the reasons why we have generations that want to use squishy toys in the first place.
Yeah, so it goes on in the article to tell you the different types of toys. Let's go through it, y'all. I should have tried to see if I could find any at like the Dollar Tree and brought them in for a show and tell.
You're a pusher of these. Do you want to tell people about this?
I will after. We will get into that after. We'll have a couple minutes. Okay, but it's not...
on the street, pushing them.
I'm out here pushing these toys.
Okay, go on.
So fidget toys are designed to keep your hand occupied with repetitive motion, spinning, stretching, squeezing, clicking. So they have the clickers. Those are the most annoying because they just like click constantly. But they have, so you can do it at a desk. Like I could have one and be down here like this fidgeting and you guys would never even notice.
Or if you're Tim, it's this and then... Which, he's wearing the...
Which is funny because but then I noticed it when he was in Chicago doing his forum and he was like... grabbing at his hands and stuff. And I was like, which is fine. I'm a fidgeter, so I'm not judging him. It's just funny that it seems like a lot of people here are fidgety.
There's anything wrong with that.
No, there's anything wrong with it. So there's stress balls and putty. And I actually have some of the putty because it smells like bubble gum and I love it. My best friend got it for me. But it's like I'll have to bring this stuff on Thursday for you guys to give you guys. We'll do like the first 5 minutes. I'll give you guys the things I found that are fidget toys and stuff. So there's like doughs, foams, gels, slimes, and then there's a stress ball. Okay, and that's where my beginning and end of pushing things has gone. So it's a ball you squish, but I crochet a little thing around it. It has a face. It's called a blob, and you go bloop, bloop, and then anyway, it looks like it's blowing a bubble. Kids love it, adults love it, everybody loves it, and you know what? As they should. But that's a stress ball. That used to be what people had, right? Plenty of shows where someone would be squishing a stress ball at work, in the office. There's a very famous thing with Toby from The West Wing, who would be like squeezing this stress ball and throwing it around constantly. That's pretty normal. That was like kind of what adults use. People use it to give out for company promotion
I
all the
saw
time.
somebody in the chat, was it Kate or Katie, basically said, like, when I was their age, all we had was stress balls.
Right, because that's normal. It's like pretty much, it's like a foam ball. And then there is sensory jewelry, which can be, so rings will have a chain that you can spin.
Oh. You
can spin in it. There's a pick and pull bracelet. It's like a tactile thing that you can touch.
Do you think that this is okay? Apart from what the toys are, do you think that this is mental health, or is it literally neuroticism as a because they list specific conditions? They list ADHD,
autism.
They list autism spectrum disorder, or is it phone addiction and neuroticism?
So I think having one or two as any age isn't that big of a problem. I think it's when they start to collect them that it becomes a problem. So I think actually what it is the refusal to grow up.
Yes.
I think it's I don't even know what to call it, the not infantilization really, but kind of the infantilization of people. So when you have that many, you're like, oh, my whole identity is toys. Like we looked at with the trend of opening toys up, a lot of those happen to be fidget toys. People love fidget toys. I don't mind a good fidget or two. That's fine. I have my own little stress ball of the ones that I make. And I have a couple of little stress balls from, like, my friend got me one when she was in England, and a couple others that I do have. Like the Rosetta Stone. I have one of the Rosetta Stone that she got me in England. But having the fidget toy that you're constantly playing with or opening, it's just Peter Pan syndrome. Thank you, Katie. Peter Pan syndrome is definitely a problem. So that's for me. It's one thing if you have ADHD or fidgeter or whatever to do that, but when you don't, see, I talk with my hands too because I'm a fidgeter, but when you're doing it and you're collecting them and you are trying to make it like your whole identity, then it's cringy. Very cringy. The spinner rings are kind of cool because it's also an accessory, so it's not as like obvious. You can sit there and move around. Like I sit here and move mine around, but they're not supposed to be fidget, so I shouldn't do that. They're probably so dirty from me doing that. I should go back to the place and get them professionally cleaned. But it's a growing trend, the infantilization of people. And again, they have like those big pop-it thingies that you like push all down. You can pop them all back up. And unless you're a kid in elementary school, like it's actually embarrassing to carry that in public.
You know what I think? So this is a trope. Maybe this will evolve the television trope. So there's a trope in the procedural genre where if a character is doing this, like they're thinking of
really
they're
hard.
thinking of their wife, or they're thinking of their husband,
or like their family. It's like a family issue.
It's like, oh, did you cheat on your wife? And he's like, no, and he's doing this, and they're like, see, I think you did because you're fidgeting with your ring. What if you're really just a really hyperactive, fidgety person, and then somebody's accusing you of something that you've never done?
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say like I judge people for it, but I do think that it plays to the fact that Gen Z is actively trying to get as many as they can. Depends on the person. Maybe you do have really bad anxiety and your therapist was like, this is the best thing you can do for it. Or you're just doing it because you want to be cool and trendy and cutesy.
And then the hard part is like previous generations. This is just the way it is. Like new things to older generations are just never going to make sense to them. And they're going to be like, look, I dealt with all my anxiety by just dealing with it. And then, you have that'll be the next big Gen X boomer / millennial / Gen Z debate.
Right.
So now you got to, where can people find, because you are a purveyor, you are a
I don't have them
slinger.
right now on my website, so I'm not going to promote it right now. But when I do have them, maybe I'll promote them then. I'll let you guys know.
I don't even see the collecting as necessarily the worst part of this. I actually think that you don't think people walking around in public with fidgets as adults is weird? But that's not the collecting part.
But usually it's because they have a collection. They take one out every day. I'm telling you right now, based on like TikToks, that is exactly what happens. They have a collection. There are people who will match it to their outfits.
I think that collecting them is less of a sign of mental illness than needing to have it in public because it's some sort of, what was the term that they used for it there? That it's some form of self-soothing mechanism.
Yeah, but like having one of those big ones in public, which is what a lot of them have been doing, that's a problem. Also, the one example we have today is the girl with it in her mouth acting like a dog. So take that with what you will, but those are the kind of people that, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's go to Super Chats then, ladies and gentlemen. Olivia says, no crisis party today with a frowny face. Make your frowny face.
I'm bummed about it.
There you go. We'll get to it here. All right, going to the top, ladies and gentlemen. From Shane H. Wilder says, happy Taco Tuesday, Dasovics. Does anyone get the paranoia that the airline will forget to transfer their luggage to the connecting flight? First of all, what was that reading? And second of all, yes, I do get that
every time. That's why I don't like checking bags whenever we go traveling. Like we travel to like Minnesota, we'll try to keep it in 2 carry-on bags because I'm just so worried.
So the last time that I flew home before me and you ever flew back there, I think that was, yes, you weren't there. So this would have been like 2023, I guess, or 2022.
For your birthday, probably in 23.
Yeah. They did the thing where luggage was full and they needed to check my bag. Mm-hmm. They didn't put a tag on it or give me like a receipt. Mm-hmm. So I got there and it was just nowhere to be found. And it was just in a random other carousel. And it took me like 20 minutes to find.
Yeah, I had usually they do like the, what do they call it, the runway check or whatever, or I can't remember the exact name, it's gonna drive me crazy, but you can tag it at the gate and then
that's what they normally do,
and then they put it back up there for you to
they didn't do that.
Okay, that's the only way I'll actually do it, is if they're like, it'll come right back up on the the runway when you're there, like you'll get it right when you're on the, what is it called, whatever, they give it to you right at the gate pretty much, or like the walkway down to the plane. There's like a certain name and I would know it if I heard it and I can't think of it, but yeah.
She doesn't work at an airport.
Clearly. I don't work at an airport. Let me see if I can
Moon at Noon for $2 says, Dasovic Diaper Fund. It's rarely a plan, guys. We don't keep the super chat money, my friend. It goes to the company because it pays our salaries.
Yup.
So thank you. So in a way it does go to the Dasovic Diaper Fund in the future.
Yes.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says, hey, don't knock old Westerns. I love old Westerns because I watched them with my dad. The Man with No Name trilogy are still S-tier spaghetti Westerns. Yeah, the point was more that most people didn't necessarily have that level of fondness for the stuff is it Jetway? Is that what it's called? I see people in the chat saying Jetway.
Oh, the Jetway? Maybe it's the Jetway. That sounds right.
See, I need a fidget spinner toy the way my brain works. What was I talking about?
Read the super chat again.
Yes, let's do that. Oh, yeah, it's not everybody connects with their dad's shows or movies. Like theoretically, like right now, David Boreanaz is making a new Rockford Files. And theoretically, I should be excited for that because my dad loved Rockford Files and he'd always have reruns on when I was coming home from, or I guess like not when I was coming home from school because he got home after me, but he'd always have them on. But I'm more excited because I love David Boreanaz as an actor and I never really watched the Rockford Files, but maybe I should. All right, Brian Bledsoe says Mando and Grogu can easily be watched without seeing the show. Sure, there are some minor context, but for the most part, it's a standalone movie and it doesn't even bait for sequel or anything else. That is a good thing. I still remember when I was younger, I watched the X-Files movie before I ever saw an episode of the X-Files. And I loved it when I watched it, and I loved it more after I eventually watched the show, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. How you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm great, man. Doing it's just great? That wasn't anything. I had nothing to say on that.
That's okay.
So it's like, okay.
All right. S. Bud said, toughen the F up.
You toughen the F up.
Really?
Him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you toughen up.
He could.
If he's going to tell these kids to toughen up, I'm going to tell him to toughen up too.
You know. I say, you know what? Let the kids have their dry graduation. I don't think that's the end of the world.
True.
I don't think that's the end of the world. All right. Shane H. Wilder says, I feel for them, but I've seen worse. A high school buddy got home on the last day of his high school. I don't know what the L is.
I think he meant just high school.
Okay.
Probably.
On the last day of HSL, and his ish was on the lawn, locks were changed, and his mom didn't attend.
I mean, okay, that sucks, but again, this isn't a whataboutism. It's just
And that's like the most like crazy whataboutism.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your graduation sucked? Well, my mom kicked me out on graduation day and didn't attend.
Like it sucks, yes, but like
that's the worst friend in the world when you're like, oh man, I got in a car crash. And it's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, I lost my arm in a car crash, man.
And now like my car is totaled. Like,
don't be that guy, Shane. We know you're better than that.
All right. S. Bud says the kids who peak in high school are taking this poorly.
Again, like I just think it's a bit insensitive to say that.
All right. No, we did that one. Sorry. Shane H. Wilder says it used to be that leading ladies moved into matriarchal roles. Now they want to be the female ingenue with wrinkles, liver spots, and osteoporosis.
Yeah, again, everyone gets their time, their day, and they're acting like theirs should just never end, and that's dumb. Don't do that.
Exactly. No wonder Hollywood hates these old ladies.
Well, they're being annoying and whiny. Stop doing that. Don't be annoying and whiny.
Shane H. Wilder says, no, Olivia, this cringe did not end up on my timeline. Your algo is just effed.
It had 3 million views.
You might be on a list.
It had 3 million views.
It's a lot of views.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't just me.
Potatoes for Seamus. Member for a month. Thank you.
Hey, let's go.
He says, Baba Booey, Baba Booey. Hail Mocha, Baba Booey.
Baba Booey.
Shane H. Wilder says, the Eagles were right when they sang, the Greeks don't want no freaks.
Guess so.
Guess that's true. Pat the Plumber says, when Brody Lee died, his wife came out on live television a couple days later to celebrate his life. Sorry if you don't know the late, great Brody Lee. I had to look it up. It is Luke Harper from WWE. It's Brody Lee and
everyone.
AEW.
Well, I think, too, it's a big part of the Christian faith to believe that you have now gone to your eternal life and your eternal glory. And so, yeah, the earthly suffering is over. And we're going to celebrate what you did in your time here and celebrate that you're with the Heavenly Father.
It is crazy to me that a group with members as young as the original Wyatt family has been slashed from 3 to 1 because Luke Harper has passed, Bray Wyatt passed, and Eric Rowan is the last of the original group that's still alive. And that's really, really sad. Shane H. By the way, when I was watching Mortal Kombat, if there's anybody here who is a wrestling fan and someone who watched Mortal Kombat 2, it felt like the prosthetics on Baraka looked a little bit like the Fiend mask that Bray Wyatt would wear. Obviously, the teeths were different, but yeah. Shane H. Wilder says, everyone grieves different. There are only so many tears that can be shed before you're all cried out.
I mean, that's not necessarily true. I still cry about my mom sometimes. It's been a decade, but it's, I think there's only so many you can do in public before you just, you don't anymore. And also, I'm not a crier, especially in public. I refuse to cry in public. I might get choked up. I did cry during my grandparents' 2 different funerals because I had a very good relationship with both of them. We were very close, and it was very fast. And so also it was fine until they started playing Amazing Grace, but that song will always get me for whatever reason. It's about to be a really poorly timed crisis party, but
yeah, that's what I was going to say. We have tonal issues.
I definitely didn't. I cried at my mom's funeral, but privately. In the bathroom. But yeah, Amazing Grace will always get me. That's the one thing I will always cry for. So that's what got me there too.
All right. Shane H. Wilder says they could always just buy bubble wrap. Yes, they could.
Click, click, click.
Wait, I thought they started making bubble wrap that didn't do that now.
Well, why would, no.
It doesn't
That's
pop.
wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That is so, I think there's those bigger ones of firmer bubbles, but the little bubble wrap still does it.
Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Pat the Plumber says 0 is a nice round number.
Thanks.
Yes, it is.
Thanks.
Katie says, me and my best... Oh. That was a good dance.
Thank you. If you left it just on me, I had no choice
Dance
but
it
just
out.
keep dancing.
Dance it out. All right. That's why it's better. Like that's why it would be cool someday to be able to do the show with like a live producer. That way I don't have to worry about where the camera is or something like that. Then just go. Just go. All right. We'll give you a rebate there, Katie. Sorry about that. Says, me and my bestie did collect fidget toys, but now I find rosaries and prayer help with my anxiety the same way.
There you go. See, it's sometimes it's just finding what works for you. And the rosary, holding it, putting your hands over it in a way, not in like a demeaning way, but it can be kind of like a fidget for people praying. It's like a soothing technique. Like I have a prayer rock that I keep in my bag to push on if I ever need it.
All right. S. Bud asks, did Mary get her extension cord yet? Yes, she had it on Friday.
She did.
She did. All right. Greg Duvie. And I saw a couple people in the chat, as usual, asking where Mary was. Mary is live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So those are the days of the week that Mary is on. Greg Duvier says, no crisis parties. Suffer like those students, Brett. That is true.
Yep.
That's me, like, as the song, like, All By Myself plays.
All by
myself. All right. We got a crisis party, though, which is always good. Shane H. Wilder says, flying out in 12 hours, had to have checked luggage for clothes because my carry-on is camera equipment and my personal item is my laptop.
That's a bummer.
Yep. S. Bud says, I will go bath in the rain as commanded to toughen up. I'm assuming he meant bathe.
Okay,
But,
have fun.
Yep.
Hopefully it's not a big event in your life. More?
Yes.
Okay, you stopped, so I was like,
know.
hello.
I'm being discerning today.
I'm seeing if I have my prayer rock in here. I don't know.
Got it?
I'm looking.
Wodenshot says, old cop TV shows are years of entertainment. Still watching Hunter. Yes, I mean, in general, like, I don't watch the old ones, but anything from the 2000s and newer, I definitely watch. And I watch old Law and Orders. I've watched Law and Order going back to, like, when it premiered. I'm a bigger fan, if I'm being honest. I will always believe that Law and Order Criminal Intent was the best Law and Order series. Vincent D'Onofrio is just the man. So that's just my personal opinion, and I do like some of the older ones. I think that it's so the funny thing about old cop shows is they're less encumbered by societal pressure to be politically correct. That's one reason to go back and rewatch them. Pop Culture Junkie says, as I walk around in my Department of Redundancy Department shirt, I am just saying that I have nothing to say today. I'll gladly show myself out. Well, we always appreciate it when you share your insights, good friend. You always have the insights to share. All right. Pat the Plumber, member for 3 months, says, so much for my zero, SMH.
Sucks.
Brian Bledsoe, member for 3 months, says, 3 months. I got nothing else for this one. I guess hi from Vegas today to see No Doubt at the Sphere.
Nice. That'll be fun. Have fun.
Don't speak.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. S. Bud says, don't know if I can read that one.
I would, but if you know, you know. Okay. And then Shane just said, chat was asking, I can't say where I'm going. If I'm not too tired from the 5 a.m. Flight, I'll tune in tomorrow. Then I'll be out until next week. Well, have fun with whatever you're doing, man.
We always appreciate it when you take the time to tune in, even if it's like, you know, a lot of times, like, we got people like Katie who tune in when it's like really early in the morning, people from all time zones. We are very, very lucky to have people that take the time to do that.
And then Pat the Plumber said, not that you can play it, but the Kyle Busch Nickelback tribute was awesome.
Yeah, we would get copy.
But that is awesome.
Copywritten? Copyrighted?
Copywrote? No, I have no idea. I did see it. So, sorry, I hate wearing the headphones. They always give me a headache. Hence why, like, at the beginning of the first main segment, and I was like, keep going, but then you're like, you okay? I was like, getting something for my headache.
The Destroyer to All Trolls says Pedro Pascal is box office poison. I don't know if I think that he's box office poison. I think he's box office meh. Like, I don't know if it's
I don't even think he's like a poison. He's just not what he used to be as far as like a draw to the box office.
I don't think he was ever a draw.
You don't think so?
No.
I think a lot of people like him, but
that doesn't make him a draw to the box office. I think he firmly belongs in the television genre. I think that's where he does best. I think at the very least in movies, he could, given the fact that a lot of people really like his acting, he could elevate in the lead acting role, but I don't think of him as lead actor material. There is a reason why I believe that he excelled at Mandalorian and Grogu, which was a television show, and why I think Ryan Gosling is far more likely to be palatable on the big screen when Starfighter comes out next year, because Ryan Gosling is a name that can draw, theoretically, far more at the box office. Because when you think of Ryan Gosling, you don't think of a television actor. You think of a guy who acts in movies.
yeah, that's true.
That's just my personal opinion on it. Oh, right here. Shane H. Wilder, member for 3 months, says, for my 3-month chat, I need to write something amazing. I only have so many characters. What should I write that will fit the character count? I guess.
I think he was going to say, I guess something, but the idea is the character count got shut off. That's a bummer.
Yep.
It's a big bummer.
I do also wonder about, I do think Ryan Gosling has now kind of set himself apart in a way. I used to get Ryan Gosling and Jake Gyllenhaal mixed up all the time. Now I see them as vastly different characters and playing vastly different characters and actors, which I do appreciate. And you know what? I might actually go see Starfighter. No interest in Mandalorian and Grogu, not really much interest in Star Wars in general these days, but I do think I will probably, and I do like Sean Levy, and I know a lot of people are not necessarily have always been big fans of his, but I do want to see that movie.
Joe Dash 4399 sent $10 with no message. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike says, where the hell is my monthly chat? Did it not
You may
show
have
up?
already used it. It just depends on when you signed up and if you've used it. I haven't used mine in like 2 months because I'm always here and I don't know what to say. I'll use mine right now. What should I say?
By
the time it
talk about how awesome I am. That's what you should be talking about.
Yeah, I will. Hold on.
That's 20-1. She's not saying something awesome about me.
Now I want to be proven right that I am.
That's a reverse psychology. All right, double check here. Maybe I'll check over on Rumble and see what's going on over there.
There. I technically messaged about you being awesome without saying you're awesome.
That sounds convoluted.
I said, is Brett awesome? What do we think? Which means maybe we are.
The answer is yes, because this is my kingdom, and I will silence any dissent to the contrary.
You didn't say I had to say you were awesome, just about you being awesome, which is technically what I did. So.
Yeah. I appreciate that, though. That was a nice middle ground that you found.
I thought so. Look, it's what you do.
All right. The end there, Brett. Short and sweet. P-Tran with his 3-month chat said, sent his meat load emoji.
Spam the chat with your meat loads.
Yep.
Give me all your... Nope. Gonna stop that sentence before it comes out of my mouth.
Andy Panda says, I know he was in some mess called Project Hail Mary. It was terrible. Yeah, but people really like Project Hail Mary in general. It had very high audience scores, and people thought very highly of the movie. So, Ryan Gosling is Ryan Gosling. I like Ryan Gosling. And
Poll.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
It's
it's going to not be a 50-50 split, but it looks like a 50-50
Okay,
split.
meat loads are in the chat. I'm a happy gal.
That's what she said. Yeah. All right.
50-50.
50-50 split, ladies and gentlemen. And it didn't do some weird like 0.x percentile BS that it normally does. Rainy day graduation. Do you feel bad for them, or are they just whiny little Gen Z babies? Well, you guys have made your voices heard, and you are deadlocked.
That is
crazy. 50-50. I don't even know how you do that with 181 votes. Is that like a...
I don't know, man, but like that's crazy just because we literally said, like, it's so split on the internet, and it was split in our chat. We have a $10 here from Robert James Films. It said Sigourney Weaver, 76, In Mondo, Michelle Pfeiffer, 69. In the Madison, the Kardashians. Plenty of older women currently working in Hollywood. Yes, but of course the goalpost has to be moved. Now it's not the right roles.
They were talking about TV show or movies though, and the Madison is a television show, is it not? The Kardashians are television as well. But you're not wrong.
I think the idea is yes, they're in there, but now it's not. And now it's not the right kind of role.
Emma Thompson being in and Glenn Close being in Animal Farm.
Yes, and now they are trying to move it again so it can be something.
Wait, there was 181 votes, and 181 divided by 2 is 90.5.
Whatever two half people we have in the chat right now.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it's like two half of a person, so it says one, but yeah, the math doesn't make sense.
The math doesn't math. What the frick?
What in the heck is going on here?
What in the frick is going off here?
What the heck, you guys?
Forrest Dump says half your chat are sociopaths. No, they're not sociopaths. They're just, dad said they're just the pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
My dad said to let the build character. That's exactly what my dad said. He said let them get soaked right through everything. We can't contribute to the wussification of America.
There you go.
Which, yes, live by those words. Don't let your kids be a wuss, and don't let your friends be a wuss. And
look, to the parents that didn't pitch in together to get a giant canopy for your kids, why are you being such bad parents?
Maybe do better.
Yeah, maybe the parents and the
be better.
My problem isn't with the kids. My point is why are we letting the administration off the hook? In the
that's
vein
the part.
Of
that's the part.
Making it about children's character rather than adults' incompetence.
Yes, that's the part right there. School's already incompetent enough.
You get paid so much money through taxes, and you can't even get your kids a damn canopy so they can graduate without looking like a wet dog that's about to shake itself off. You're bad at your job.
Thank you. Okay. We have a 10 here. Oh, forgot to send a message from Joe Dash. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. He said I forgot to send a message. Just wanted to say I was never into pop culture until I woke up. You guys make it very enjoyable. Appreciate everything y'all do.
Well, thank you.
And
thank you for tuning in.
We'll pass it on to Mary as well.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
All right, guys, before we go, would you all hit the like button on this episode, please, and subscribe to the channel, perhaps, if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. We really appreciate it, and we are glad that you have made it through to Tuesday with us because we were off on Monday. Where can they find you, Olivia?
Yeah, so you guys can find me in a couple places. Personally, you guys can find me on X and on Instagram at Olivia Dasovic on both of those platforms. But what you really should do to support the channel, support the Diaper Fund, if that's what you want to call it, is go to timcast.com/discord. If you're not already a timcast.com member, become a member, $10 a month, and you can join the Discord server where you can call in, talk to the cast. You can watch us record the green room where you get some extra FaceTime with the guest, or you can be part of any of the large projects and conversations we always have going on. It is my domain and I love doing it. So if you guys want to, again, that is timcast.com/discord. I'll be back here on Thursday.
I am currently right at this very moment in the PCC general chat.
Yes, let's both go in and say something.
I am typing.
Go in right now. All of you in the Discord, go in right now.
On PCC. Just right there. Sent right there.
Wait, so. I will get you guys too, just because we can. We will also...
they can't see that. You gotta... Oh, wait. Okay, yep. Okay.
There you go. You guys will see that if you look on... the PCC chat.
I did not check it over the weekend, over Memorial Day, but like I said,
Broody Gambit.
Yep.
I see you.
I am trying to check into the PCC side of the Discord more frequently, guys, and at least put a message in there, respond to people who are in there. So you should go and check that out, guys. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic. On both of those platforms, PCC is live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, as always, noon Pacific, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you would like to listen rather than just watch the show, you can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, which is a great way to help us out. If you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back.
We have one more.
Oh, one more?
I like tortoises and turtles. You say it the way you got to do it from Greg Duvier.
I like tortoises and turtles.
There you go.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We will see you guys then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.